All right, we made it back to my property. Let's check out what's going on with my harvest on Citrus Row. This Tangelo tree, which we've covered before, is loaded. Tons of fruit everywhere. And it's time to pull off the fruit. It's time to do it for a few reasons. One, they're starting to fall off. And secondly, you want to harvest the fruit before the flowers come, because then the fruit tree is trying to do two different things. It's trying to keep the fruit fresh and healthy, but it's also trying to reproduce. And so we are in March. I expect the flowers to come later this month or early April. And we want to make sure that the tree is then focused on producing for next year. Otherwise, you have this situation where you have alternate harvest years, or you have a crop that's much thinner. A lot of times that's due to the tree is still doing everything it can to hold on to the fruit and focused on that as opposed to reproducing. The other thing to think about is, or to notice, this that was not too good, but just fell off, is we can be doing a lot of things with this. We can make jams out of it. We can make different type of preservatives. So I've got a lot of fruit. Probably got more than, I know we got more than what we can eat within the family, but also more than I could probably give away. So we got to think about other things to make use of the fruit, like jams and such. One other quick point to point out is my Tangelo, for some reason, normally they have a, they're also called honey bells because they have kind of a nipple at the top of the fruit. This year they don't have it, and I don't know if it's because there's so many Tangelos on this tree that it did not fully develop. But certainly next year, when this fruit tree flowers and fruits, I am going to limit the amount of fruit on this tree. The taste hasn't been as good this year. It's better than what you get in store citrus, but it's not nearly as good as the fruit that I have on the other trees. Right, so here's an example of the flowers coming. This is the Oro Blanco Grapefruit. See these guys here? These are flowers coming. These are flowers coming. It looks like there's gonna be a lot of flowers. And I still have a lot of fruit on this tree, probably about 10, I would say 10 pieces of fruit. So we're gonna have to think about pulling these off. Nice thing about these grapefruits is that they store very well. They store well at room temp. They also store well in the fridge even longer. And so we can pull these off. We can keep these in the fridge for probably 3 weeks to a month. So we'll start to pull these off and let these flowers that are coming in, let it focus on that so that your fruit tree is reproducing. It's going to produce a bigger set if you can allow it to focus its attention on reproducing and not keeping these mammoth sized fruits on the tree. All right, these are the blood oranges. Let me just get back here. For some reason, they're really nestled deep on the inside of the trees, on this tree. There's still a good 20 to 30 left on the tree that we'll pick off. Really great tasting fruit, this blood orange. And same thing with the other fruit trees. We're gonna try to pick them off fairly soon. They're ripe, they're ready, they're juicy, they're pretty much at their peak. And blood oranges are notorious for being alternate season bearing, meaning that they give you fruit one year and then they just sleep the next year. And I think if we take the fruit off, look, more flowers. See that? The flowers are coming, and this tree will do both in many cases. Citrus trees, they will flower and have fruit on from the previous year. But like we said before, we're gonna take off the fruit, especially on these blood oranges, which have a habit of alternate bearing. And we'll see if we get fruit next year. It's the only tree here that does that, the only citrus tree that is alternate bearing habits or tendencies in my orchard. We got 2 lemons on here. Well, a lemon Eureka, your regular sour kind of lemon. And this little guy is producing a little bit of fruit, very little. This lemon hasn't produced fruit yet, but I am encouraged. Look at that. Look at all the flowers that are starting to pop up on this little guy. So we'll see. We'll see. This is a Myers lemon. So the famous key lime pie. Oh, sorry, not a Myers. Key lime. Yeah, famous key lime. And, you know, the kind that are in the key lime pies and all of that. Very rich and unique, distinctive taste. Hopefully we'll have some key limes this year. But I've got a 201 planting. So this is something, guys, you can do. These are dwarf trees. All of the trees in this row are dwarf trees, meaning they're gonna get to about 6 to 8 feet tall, maybe 10 feet max. And we've got these guys 2 feet apart, right in the same proximity, and they'll do just fine once they grow up and get a little bit of maturity. And this is the variegated pink lemonade. And we've got a few on here. My lemons and limes are not producing as much as I want. I'm sure they'll get there. But look at this color. See that? What's unique about it, this is a Eureka lemon that is a variation of it. It is, the leaves are a little different and the fruit is a little different, hence why they call it variegated. But look at that, it has these green stripes. Now, as it tends to get older, it will look more like that. The green stripes will fade, but the inside of the flesh will remain, is pink. And it is a sweeter tasting than its relative, its sibling or cousin or whatever it is, the Eureka. It's very closely related, but the taste is just a little bit sweeter, which is why it gets the name pink lemonade. And this is what we need more of on this tree, is more flowers and more growth. And we'll see if we can get the lemons where they need to be. Go Nugget Mandarin. This is an interesting guy. There is a difference sometimes between fruit trees that could be next to each other. It could be the very same variety, but they may taste different. Case in point, this gold Nugget Mandarin. It's been in the ground for a couple of years. This is the first year it's producing. But it does not taste nearly as good as the gold nugget that I have in the pot. And for whatever reason, well, that gold nugget produced last year. And this is his second year. The one in the pot produced last year. So part of it could be that it is just getting more mature, the one in the pot. And that's why the flavor profile is better. So we can be a little bit optimistic that next year, this gold nugget mandarin will taste just as good. But it's a big difference. Like, I can taste the difference between the potted tree and the one in the ground here. And the potted tree is much better. Okay, check out the Cara Cara. This one did not produce any fruit last year, but it is, that's Sahara in the background. She's doing her guardian stuff, patrolling the property. So we won't get too upset if she interrupts our filming. She's doing her job. But back to the Cara Cara. This is an orange. It also has a kind of a unique flesh. It's more of a kind of between a blood orange and a regular orange. It's a little bit of a darker pulp and flesh. And again, this one didn't produce last year, but it looks like it's trying to flower. It's definitely going to flower. Look at that. Beautiful white flowers. And one of the things about citrus flowers, they have a very sweet aroma, and they have been known to be used in perfumes and colognes. These flower petals have just a very sweet aroma that is highly desired, and a lot of the expensive perfumes and colognes will have a little bit of citrus peel in them. But anyways, back to the Cara Cara. This is something that we're looking and expecting to do great things in the upcoming year, and hopefully we'll get some Cara Cara for 2025. Everything here that's flowering now, it's going to be ready January at the earliest, but basically the first few months, the first quarter or so, first third or quarter of the year 2025. Here is the Go Nugget Mandarin in a container. And it's been in here in this container for about 2.5 years. It is the second year that it's producing fruit. And there's a couple of takeaways that I want to share with you. First of all, let me just follow it up. Look at this, in a container, and it's growing up to about 7 feet. Now, takeaway number one is you can grow citrus and other fruit, but in this case, we're talking about citrus in a container pot and be very successful at it. So don't think you have to have a huge yard and a lot of space to grow fruit, your own fruit. You can do it in a container, and this will last many, many years, maybe a decade, in a pot. The second takeaway, again, this is the second year it's producing fruit. The first year, last year, it was okay. And now this year, this fruit in a container is infinitely better than the one that's growing in the ground, that's been in the ground for about 3 years, but producing fruit for the first time. So sometimes you need to let the tree actually mature before you really understand and be able to appreciate and get the quality, taste, and harvest that you're looking for. You gotta let it grow, you gotta let it mature. But it's infinitely better. And let me just pan up a little bit and show you the background. There's citrus row in the background, the tangelo and the grapefruits and the other fruit trees, citrus in very close proximity. But that's the gold nugget. Doing very well. And yes, you can grow citrus in containers. All right, thanks for joining everyone. That was all about citrus today. We covered citrus very thoroughly. We went out and saw the Historical Citrus Center in Riverside, and we spotlighted a few of the citrus in the orchard. Thanks for joining, wishing you health and love and peace and just general good energies and good vibes sending your way. Thank you so much for joining. I'm going to leave you with a little bit of bonus footage. We'll cover some of the fruit. I'll cut open some of the fruits, show you a little bit about what it looks like, the flesh of it and taste and so forth, and a little bit of Sahara like we always do. All right, see you next time. Take care.